here we have a quite cool Linux phone. So it's from Furi Labs and it's called FLX1S Plus. Bit difficult name. But yeah, they are making a Linux phone. So I will show you a bit of it today. So this is the current model and it's for sale here, $500. And yeah, it's running Linux. And they say here that, so it's from FuriLabs and it runs a fully optimized Linux system called FuriOS. And it seems like a very competent smartphone. This is the previous model, FLX1. They have released a few different phones already. And yeah, it seems like they're keeping quite a high tempo with releasing phones and updates to the phones with improving the software on it continuously. The interface it's running is called Phosh. So here it's a user interface for your mobile phone. So it uses GTK. And we can take a look over here on the About page. So you can see a few screenshots here. And it says here on the About page, the Phosh project aims to provide a daily usable, robust and easy to use graphical user environment for mobile devices running mainline Linux. Yeah, and it says it's free software, all of it. And here we have some screenshots. You can see some settings and turning off. And here about lock screen and yeah, some different things here. So yeah, Phosh and it's using GNOME components and GTK and yeah, it has a lot of different things for making Linux usable on your phone. Here we have the Wikipedia article, some screenshot here with Phosh. So yeah, you can run your different Linux applications on it. And this phone, so it's using something called Halium. So Halium is a collaborative project to unify the hardware or abstraction layer for projects which run GNU Linux on mobile devices with pre-installed Android. So this FuriPhone, at least this version, I guess this one as well, but I'm not completely sure. But I think they were originally Android phones, and then they have used Halium to be able to install Linux on it. So with Android phones, so you cannot just like take the, I don't know, Linux kernel and then they install some other interface there that easily, since yeah, when they make an Android phone, they take the Linux kernel and they make so much customizations with different drivers and yeah, a lot of different things. So that's what the Halium helps you with. So with them, like they want to run Linux and Phosh and Debian. It's also, instead of like having to write the drivers from scratch or something, then they can use Halium and then take the existing Android drivers and put them into Linux and then yeah, install Debian and Phosh on top of that. And since it's bounded by the Android and kernel version that came yeah, on the original Android phone that it's built upon, if we look here at the source code, so this is the Linux kernel for yeah, the FuriPhone. If we just look here in the make file, we can see the version here. So it's the version 4.19 of the Linux kernel. It's quite old. The current one, I think it's 7.2. So yeah, this is quite old, but yeah, I guess this is what came on the original Android device, and that's just what they have to use. And since yeah, with this Android phone, since they make so much customizations to the Linux kernel, it's not that easy to like take the latest kernel and port the drivers to yeah, the latest Linux kernel. It's also what they say here in the manual for the Linux kernel. So it says that the kernel to user space interface, that's yeah, so that's the one that application programs use. They use syscall interface, and that's very stable over time. So you can use a very old kernel or a new kernel, and yeah, program yeah, that you run on your own computer should still work, but within the kernel, that's not stable. So yeah, so that's what I say. That yeah, if you're a kernel developer and you make a driver, that is not guaranteed to be stable. So that makes it very difficult and then to port all the drivers to a newer kernel, like for a small company like this that just takes an existing Android phone and customizes it to run Debian. That's also what we can read here on the Android page. So Android, and they are like improving on that, but it says that the customization could result in as much as 50% of kernel code being out of tree code and not from upstream Linux kernels. Yeah, so that's the amount of customizations that historically phone makers have been doing on Android phones. And it seems like this FLX1, at least, that it was this phone, Gigaset GX6. So yeah, an Android phone, and if you were to look at the specifications for this one, it seems like it's exactly the same as for the FuriPhone. It's probably this one that they have customized and been able to run Debian on. And you can also read a bit about it here. So it's a blog post, 2-year celebration. So that was last year. And if we scroll down a bit, so the FLX1, our first device, the FLX1, completely sold out, while it was based on a slightly modified ODM design, similar to some Gigaset models. So yeah, there we have it. It served as the perfect proof of concept. But then they say that with FLX1S, so that now they're working with a new ODM, and they're saying that we have moved beyond mass-produced designs that we had no control over to create something uniquely ours. Yeah, that's at least what they claim. Yeah, and then about what they're doing. So they have a changelog here, and they do updates very frequently. And yeah, they are taking like an existing phone, or yeah, maybe not so, maybe it's more not mass-produced anymore. But yeah, they take a phone, they take a Debian, they take Phosh, GTK, and yeah, then they like put everything together, and then like the changes they're doing, it's a lot of like integration to just make this work, and patches for improving things. Yeah, with all these different components. So if we look here, like with Pulse Audio for sound, something Vulkan, Flatpak here with some Wi-Fi stuff, a lot of camera, MTP, and that's, I guess, when you connect it with USB. Continue here, modem, Android stuff. Yes, with Android, I guess this is since you can run Android apps in a container. So yeah, maybe that's that. Some GTK stuff, Firefox. Yeah, they mentioned something, the second release based on Debian 4K. So yeah, you see, it's a lot of with Debian, just keeping up with the updates and yeah, with the integration with Phosh and all that. So it seems like that's like the core thing that then they provide. And here is another blog post. So FuriLabs 3 years on. So that was from this year. And you can see these different devices that they have released during these 3 years. So they began in mid-2023, and yeah, 4 devices, and they have made 450 changelog items in 15 releases. So yeah, quite impressive. It seems like they have yeah, quite high speed and doing a lot of things. You can check on their GitHub a bit quickly. Yeah, they have a lot of different repositories. So yeah, it's all these different components that they maintain and yeah, integrate and all that good stuff here. So you can run Android apps in containers apparently, and something that seems quite cool is that you can run Docker on your phone. So since it's just a normal Linux phone in the end, it's a slightly outdated kernel, but other than that, it is regular Linux. It tells here that the Docker and Docker Compose work. It is quite cool, and yeah, they have a terminal here, some screenshots, and yeah, they're gonna, like in these screenshots, they're gonna install the Nginx as a Docker container. I don't know what this ---- is, but scroll past that, and here we can see Nginx works, and they managed to get the web server running, and here connect to localhost and show it. That's quite cool what you can do. And also here they have some article, Convergence hub and demo. So you can apparently connect the phone to a monitor and keyboard and on that, if I understand it correctly. Here they have the FuriPhone running, and here we can see browsing on the phone with it connected to the monitor. They have a few more videos on their YouTube channel. So here it is, and here we have it with the app containers as well. We can take a look at that. Here we have their FuriPhone. Here we get to see a bit of Phosh. Yeah, a bit reminded of how GNOME and GTK looks like. Android app settings. Seems like here was some settings, and he goes back, and here the installed apps, Firefox and all those good stuff. Back to the settings, but let's look here. Okay, so he's gonna install the Aurora store. That's an Android app to install apps from Google Play. Install the X app. Okay, and now it's installed. See if it can boot. See, so he starts it, and yeah, started. Oh, I don't know if the point of the phone is to run Android apps, but it's cool that it's possible. And yeah, like with Convergence and with Docker containers, and it's quite cool that you get a normal like Linux environment and what everything you're used to, what you can do on Linux, but in the phone form factor instead. So there are not that many options maybe if you're looking at for a Linux phone. So I think this is quite cool what they've been able to do, that they can reuse Android drivers and get a Linux phone running on an Android phone. Like you wish that it would be possible to just grab a Linux distro and install it on your phone just like you can do on your computer. But sadly, it seems like that's just not the reality. So I think projects like Halium, and maybe we need to be stuck with that until maybe the Linux phone market grows even bigger. But we're kind of limited with good options at the moment. It feels like with Linux phones. It's very impressive, I think, with FuriLabs, what they have been able to do. And since they've been going on for 3 years and released 4 phones, I guess they've had some success. So I really hope that they can continue with this and release more phones and more updates, and that Phosh gets more updates, and that it just gets better.